Welcome to Behind the Case podcast, a podcast that focuses on navigating the challenges our clients face with divorce and family law in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. Behind the Case is brought to you by the Turner-Monahan legal team. With over 70 years of collective experience in divorce and family law. Together, Tyler Monahan, Keaton Monahan, Tina Campbell, and the Turner-Monahan team will discuss real-life cases, answer questions, and explore family law areas from divorce to child custody. Our goal is to clarify scenarios and demystify legal jargon, making the process less daunting and reminding you that you're not alone. So sit back and let's discuss what happens behind the case.
All right, so if a friend comes to you and they tell you that they're about to get divorced and their spouse has been hiding money from them, what are you telling them?
Well, first, how do you know that your spouse is hiding money from you? I mean, sometimes people suspect or think that someone is hiding money. And what do you think they're doing using with the money? Why are they hiding the money? Do you suspect any kind of illegal activity, gambling or something like that? Or is there a paramour are you suspecting? And just kind of want to get down to the nitty gritty, because sometimes what they suspect is happening may not actually be happening. But if it is happening, then it usually leads to an avenue that will lead to divorce.
And if you do suspect and you have any documentation, this is a really good time to make a copy, scan it someplace, put it someplace safe so that you have access to it later. Because shockingly, once divorces often begin, pieces of paper disappear, account passwords change, access gets limited.
Right.
So if you know it's coming, prepare as much as you can, get as much information as possible. Even if you don't have everything, if we just know that there's an account in Wells Fargo that exists, and then later on they declare that there isn't one, we have some information so we can ask some better questions.
What would you say to someone if your friend comes to you and they're like, I'm really scared to file because of the kids? What do you say to them?
Understandable. I mean, the kids are going to be a part of the whole divorce process. And so it's hard to break up your family. But if it's necessary, there's ways to prepare your children for that. Depending on their ages, maybe counseling would be appropriate to kind of prepare them for that. And depending on, maybe I know a lot of people are worried about cost, especially when they're beginning to file or thinking about filing for divorce. So maybe help them look at some avenues outside of what we would use for litigation counselors, and maybe look at church resources for some counseling, anything where the kids can maybe get some help and not feel so alone and disjointed when the divorce does start. I would also tell them to talk to their teachers at school and the school counselor so that they can be prepared for the emotional things that your kids are going to be going through. It's going to be a cycle of upset and fear and anxiety, and it may affect some of their grades. So just make sure that everybody who's involved with the kiddos kind of knows what's going on. And if it can kind of maybe be a soft launch on the divorce to kind of help them deal with it rather than it all kind of blows up like we see a lot. By the way, dad's moving out. And there's no warning.
Mm-hmm. And also keep in mind that kids are oftentimes more resilient than people give them credit for. And kids deserve two sets of happy parents.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the home life with everybody living in the same household is so tumultuous and so stressful and so just overrun with anxiety, it may be a relief to the kiddos when mom and dad finally come and say, look, we really are going to separate and we're going to live in two different households and that kind of a thing. There may be a certain amount of relief for their children.
Yeah.
So also keep that in mind. I mean, there's always going to be hard times. There's going to be rough spots. I agree with Heather. Counseling is absolutely helpful. That way kiddos have a non-biased third party that they can vent to, and they don't have to worry about hurting mommy's feelings or hurting daddy's feelings, and they can just get it out. And sometimes that helps tremendously.
Yeah. And kind of staying with that theme a little bit, a lot of parents will sometimes say, we're going to stay for the sake of the family. So earlier it was, hey, I'm worried about the divorce because of the kids. But now it's like, hey, I'm not going to do it for the sake of the family. But they're miserable. leading on. So what do you say to that one?
Let's take a quick pause here. If you or someone you know is navigating divorce or family law matters in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, reach out to Turner-Monahan for a free legal consultation. Call us at 817-332-4477 or visit us at tumolaw.com. That's TUMOLAW.com for a free legal consultation. Now, let's get back to Behind the Case.
Well, I think, again, if there's kiddos involved, understand kiddos pick up on everything. There are no secrets. You may think that they're secrets, but they know what's going on. And if you were completely unhappy and dejected and not involved in everything, that's almost as bad as the screaming and the yelling and the violence that you hear sometimes. The just not being engaged is almost just as bad. So again, it might behoove the adults to do a little counseling to determine why it is I'm making these decisions, and is it really in my best interest and my children's best interest to stick it out? Or is it better to move on and have a new normal and be able to co-parent and live life?
Yeah, I agree 100% with what Tina said, because I mean, I have teenagers and the kids now have so much access to internets and things, that ways to find out information that we didn't have growing up. And so it's much, they are so much more aware of all the things that are going on around them. They can multitask better than what we give them credit for. Kids can be on their social media or just on text with their friends, but they hear everything that's going around. They may act like they don't hear when directions are being given by parents, but they absolutely hear, and they know what has been said, and they know all of those things. So you may think you're protecting the family or preserving the family unit, but you may be hurting their future and how their future relationships and how they're going to treat their future partners. And so it's a whole unit that you need to look at. And it's, while you may think you're preserving it, you may be doing more damage than good.
Agreed.
All right. Going back to kind of that first question a little bit with money. So what would you tell a friend who has zero control over their finances because they've let the spouse handle it all?
You need to figure it out quickly. You need to, kind of like Tina said earlier, like you've got to, you find out all the information you can. You look in the accounts, you find out how bills are paid, where they're paid, all the information you need to know to be able to equip yourself down the road on how you are going to live separately, because all of those bills are going to have to be paid, and all of the, like, everything that goes on. If you've never had any control over the finances and where and how they're paid, you've got to figure it out pretty quickly.
And come up with a plan. I mean, if you've been a stay-at-home wife or a stay-at-home spouse, you're going to have to come up to a plan for the future. The other spouse is not, in most circumstances, going to be responsible for maintaining your lifestyle forever. So what are you going to do for work? What if you had to move out of the residence you're living in? How are you going to pay those bills? Where's these funds going to come from? How much time do you need to get on your feet? How much is your monthly budget? You really do need to take some time and put pen to paper and do the math and figure it out, because unfortunately, a lot of our clients realize that on a single income family, it's almost impossible to run two separate households at one time. So they expect that spouse one is going to pay for the mortgage and all the utilities and that kind of a thing while they move out and they go get another apartment, plus child support, plus spousal maintenance, when there just aren't enough dollars to go around. So there has to be a plan. But I absolutely agree with Heather. Gather all the information you can possibly gather. Run your own credit report so that you know what's out there in case accounts have been created in your name that you were not aware of, or you're suddenly a signer on a whole bunch of accounts that you don't even know exists. If you don't have a bank account of your own that your spouse doesn't have access to, go create one, because you're going to need a separate location for funds so that you don't have to worry that, you wake up in the morning and poof, there's no money. Because that's a real reality we've seen on many, many occasions. So planning and preparation are really kind of key.
All right. What would you say to a friend whose ex is threatening to ruin them, do some kind of damage to them, their reputation, or hurt hurt them? What do you say to that friend in that situation?
I mean, really, what are they going to be able to do to you? I mean, they're going to, I mean, if they spout off lies and they post a whole bunch of stuff on social media, it's just at the end of the day come back to haunt them more so than you. I always encourage people when those kinds of things happen, take the high road. You don't need to respond. You don't need to jump into every insane thing that somebody else does. You can ignore it. It's okay. You don't have to necessarily defend every single thing that's posted about you on social media, because oftentimes that just adds fuel to the fire. So just be prepared for those things. If you think it's going to be on social media, you might forewarn folks just so they know we're in the middle of a divorce. There may be some things posted. Please understand that it's just retaliatory. Don't respond. Encourage your friends and family to also not respond. And 90% of the time, there's not a whole lot of damage that an individual can do. I mean, other than try to publicly shame you. And if you know you've not done anything wrong, let them, because that will only hurt their case later on.
Yeah, and I'd say if the ruin that they're referring to is a financial ruin, a lot of times one spouse may say, well, I'm going to ruin you because I'm going to keep the finances from you. I'm going to take everything away, or financial threats. Those can be just as scary as the social media posts, whether true or untrue, because especially a stay-at-home mom or someone who has not been the breadwinner is going to be scared to be put in a position that they can't support themselves, or they're going to be left destitute. And so what I would tell my friend is that don't worry about that part. There's actually laws in place that can protect you if you're going to be the parent who is the primary parent. You have the children, you'll have some child support ordered to help you take care of the kids. And if you really have been a stay-at-home mom, there may be some spousal support that will be provided to you. So he can make all the threats, or she can make all the threats that they want to make, but the court system isn't going to allow you to be destitute.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Behind the Case. If this episode offered insight or helped clarify some aspect of divorce and family law, we encourage you to subscribe and share it with others who might benefit. For those in the DFW area that are in need of a legal consultation, you can reach us at tumolaw.com. That's TUMOLAW.com, or 817-332-4477 to schedule a free legal consultation. Remember, the journey through legal matters can be complex, but you don't have to navigate it alone. Until our next discussion, take care. Please note that the information provided in this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended as legal advice. Listening to this podcast or contacting our team does not constitute an attorney-client relationship. For advice on your specific situation, please consult with a licensed attorney in your area.